hapon po, may press briefing po ang Department of Foreign Affairs kaugnay sa katatapos lang na bilateral meeting ni ng Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert del Rosario at U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry. Narito po.
Secretary of State of the United States of America will now give their respective statements on the results of the bilateral meeting between the two countries. Secretary del Rosario, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It was my pleasure and privilege to have welcomed the Secretary of State, John Kerry, and his delegation to the Philippines. John, I'd like to take this opportunity to once again reiterate our deep appreciation for the tremendous assistance and support that we received in the aftermath of Yolanda in terms of expressions of sympathy and, of course, the support which was huge, and it included the search and rescue teams, relief operations, as well logistics, including over 50 aircraft and sea vessels, and this also reflected itself in terms of 1,000 U.S. soldiers and Marines on the ground who offered direct assistance and without a doubt helped to save many lives. We are deeply moved by this, John, and I must say to you that we are very grateful, and I also received from the good secretary the support for the Philippines in terms of the dauntless task that's ahead for recovery and reconstruction for the Philippines. Based on our shared history, our shared values, our shared aspirations, John, the Secretary and I continue to work incessantly on promoting the various dimensions of our bilateral relations that extend from political to defense and security, to economic cooperation, to regional and global concerns. We discussed on how we would elevate our alliance to another level, and this came in the form of the framework on increased rotational presence, which we are currently negotiating. We discussed the ways on which we will be able to address transnational threats. We discussed how we would address counterterrorism, the securing of our maritime borders, and this is receiving a significant boost from the Global Security Fund that has been made available to us, which essentially assists our Coast Guard and as well our PNP, Philippine National Police. We discussed to a large extent economic cooperation, how this will be expanded, and what areas we're moving towards. We discussed PPP. We discussed, for example, the Partners for Growth, Millennium Challenge, how that's progressing, and We looked at this in terms of how we can be helpful to good governance, to inclusive growth, and to poverty alleviation. We discussed as well the WPS, our favorite topic, and the ADIS, and of course the elements on freedom of navigation, and of course adherence to the rule of law. We discussed other topics and which are of mutual interest, and finally we reiterated the commitment that we would continue to work towards a more effective partnership, and as well a closer friendship. So thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you very much, Albert. Magandang hapon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and I want to thank my We have met now on the side of meetings in Brunei, in Bali, and we have met in Washington. And now I have an opportunity to be able to come here back to Manila. And I'm very, very pleased to be here with you, Albert. I very much look forward later this evening to meeting with President Aquino at the Malacanang Palace. And for me, it really is a special pleasure to be able to be back in Manila. First of all, there's such a great energy in the Philippines today. The economy of the Philippines over the course of the last year has been one of the fastest growing in the world. And I know, having my previous visit canceled because of a typhoon, a storm, I'm particularly grateful that President Aquino and Foreign Secretary Del Rosario gave me the forbearance to be able to reschedule. I said I would come before the end of the year, and I'm glad that I am here before the end of the year. I have really always marveled at the amazing spirit of the Filipino people. And I've come to know it. I know something about it. First of all, we obviously, all of us in the world, marveled at the remarkable resilience and strength of the Filipino people in responding to the terrible devastation of Typhoon Yolanda. Mr. Secretary, the world has seen your strength and the strength of your people, and we admire it. Since the typhoon hit, I'm proud to say that the United States has worked very, very closely with our partners in the Philippines. And I'm very grateful on behalf of the American people to Secretary Del Rosario for his comments of thanks. The American people are proud to help. And the American people, I think, take great pride in the fact that there is a spirit in our country of helping those in distress, but also there is a special affection for the Philippines. We have been tied together for a long time. And in our meeting today, I reassured the Foreign Secretary of the United States' commitment to stand by the Philippines as they go through the process now of the recovery and the reconstruction. We have a long tradition of working together on these kinds of things, from countering extremism to strengthening our economic ties, our maritime security, to fighting poverty and creating the conditions for broad-based prosperity and growth. one of the most enduring aspects of our legacy, our partnership, are the binding ties, the personal ties between our people. More than 300,000 American citizens live in the Philippines, and nearly 4 million people of Filipino origin live in the United States and contribute in so many ways to America's diverse cultural heritage. I've had personal connections to the Philippines for a long period of time, but most recently in 1986, I became involved as a young senator in the effort to have an accountable election when President Marcos called a snap election, and to make certain that democracy was restored to the Philippines. I worked with then to become President Cory Aquino and with NAMFREL and others, and I'm proud that during that period of time I got to travel around the Philippines and see people voting. I will never forget being in Mindanao and then later up here in Manila and watching people stand thousands at a time in line for the privilege of voting, of having their fingers stamped and their thumbs, and of standing in the hot sun in order to make democracy work. It was inspiring. And I'll never forget the look on the faces of people who were voting for the first time, and the yellow shirts and waving their pro-democracy banners. The courage of the Filipino people then lit a spark that actually traveled around the world. And it inspired not just a young freshman senator from Massachusetts, but it inspired popular movements from Eastern Europe to Burma. The United States is proud of the rich history that we share and our enduring alliance with the Philippines, which is an important democracy and one of America's key treaty allies in the dynamic Asia-Pacific region, one of our 5 allies. As Foreign Secretary and I discussed today, the United States is committed to working with the Philippines to address its most pressing security challenges. That's why we are negotiating a strong and enduring framework agreement that would enhance defense cooperation under our alliance, including through an increased rotational presence of U.S. forces in the Philippines. And that's why we have committed $40 million for a new initiative to improve the Philippines' maritime security and maritime domain awareness. That's also why we support efforts to reduce tensions surrounding the territorial and maritime disputes in the South China Sea in 2 important ways. First, we strongly support ASEAN's efforts with China to move quickly to conclude a code of conduct as a key to reducing the risk of accidents or miscalculation. In that process, we think that claimants have a responsibility to clarify their claims and to align their claims with international law. That is the way to proceed in resolving any disputes over the South China Sea, peacefully and with international law. Second, we support internationally recognized dispute resolution mechanisms, such as those that are provided in the Law of the Sea Convention. The United States strongly opposes the use of intimidation, coercion, or aggression to advance territorial claims. And I assured the Foreign Secretary that the United States remains firmly committed to the security of the Philippines and the region. Today, I raised our deep concerns about China's announcement of an East China Sea Air Defense Identification Zone. I told the Foreign Secretary that the United States does not recognize that zone and does not accept it. The zone should not be implemented, and China should refrain from taking similar unilateral actions elsewhere in the region, and particularly over the South China Sea. I am also pleased to announce that the United States and the Philippines have negotiated an MOU to cooperate in the restoration, operation, and maintenance of Clark Veterans Cemetery. This agreement is not just another piece of paper. It's about upholding a sacred promise to honor those who served and sacrificed on all of our behalf. So I am enormously gratified that we are ensuring that the 8,600 Americans and Filipinos who are buried on the hallowed grounds of that cemetery will receive the respect and the dignity that they deserve. I might add, I was honored today to lay a wreath at the cemetery here in Manila, where some 17,201 American and Filipino men and women are buried from World War II. That is the largest cemetery in which Americans are buried from World War II. And it is a remarkable place, and it is a humbling tribute to the links between us in our struggle for freedom and for democracy and for dignity. The United States is also one of the Philippines' largest trading partners in Asia. Last year, $22 billion crossed between us in two-way trade. So we look forward to working with the Philippines to further deepen our trade relationship, understanding that this benefits both of us, that it creates jobs in America, in the Philippines, puts people to work, raises the standard of living, but it also raises the standard of doing business.
Statement ni Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario at US Secretary of State John Kerry matapos ang kanilang bilateral meeting. Ayon kay Secretary Del Rosario, nagpasalamat siya sa tulong ng Amerika sa relief operations sa mga binagyo ng Yolanda at umaasa raw ang Pilipinas sa patuloy na pagtulong ng Amerika sa rehabilitasyon ng mga sinalantang lugar. Patuloy rin daw na pinagyayaman ng relasyon ng dalawang bansa, lalo na sa issue ng regional security. At yan po ang may init na balita sa oras na ito. Tutok lang dito sa GMA News TV para oras-oras. Alam mo, ako po si Tina Panganiban Perez. Magandang hapon.